Hi, it's Jessica and
Hello.
April. We're gonna start off, so we just had a new moon in Scorpio. So we're one day past, about a little over 12 hours since the 12, 13, 14 hours since the new moon. So it's really a good time to start with your manifesting. I'm gonna start out with giving you a little brief overview of what's going on in the astrology, and then we'll shift on how we can best work with the energy that's going to present itself this week. Let's recap on astrology really quick with new moon. Will you explain new moon and Scorpio real quick?
Okay, so we're in a new moon in Scorpio. So the new moon energy is actually when the sun and the moon are conjunct, so they're almost at the same degree, so their energy is joining and helping us to set forth our intention for the next 30 days. Now with it in the sign of Scorpio, it is directing that energy that we're wanting to direct in this next 30 days within the archetype Scorpio, which is, we talked about this last week, which is again going to be about the water element of emotion, intuition, dreams. It really asks us to dive deep into our soul. Nothing at the surface level is enough for Scorpio. Scorpio, if it's not deep, then they're not interested in it. So this moon is asking us to go deep, deep, deep into our soul, asking ourselves, what do we really want to cultivate, not just in the next 30 days, but within our life. So it's really kind of asking those questions, which could be bringing some of those issues to the surface for you at this time.
The other thing I'd like to add to that is Scorpio is also about like transmuting it, transforming it. So taking what I know about what's going on and what's been going on in the past couple weeks with the astrology is a lot of stuff is being brought up from the depth, like going deep down within ourselves, deep within our culture, to bring stuff up, bring it out to the forefront. Now this is typically Scorpio also talks about like what's taboo, what we don't want to see, what we don't want to know, what we're kind of looking away from. It's like this thing right here that we've been avoiding, but to get past this blockage, we have to transform that situation or within ourselves, transform habits within ourselves to be able to move forward.
I have a little bit more on that too.
Okay, go ahead.
So I found my notes that I want to say a little bit more about the Scorpio energy. New moon is about transformation, breaking away from old things. And there's this idea of breaking away from the things that feel safe. So that may be counterintuitive, like we want to hold on to things that feel safe, but that does not allow us to grow beyond into our true possibility if we're kind of staying with what's safe. There's a quote by Carl Jung that I want to share, and it says, "We cannot go beyond ourselves, we can only go deeper into ourselves. This self is not identical to the ego, because it is this self we appear wonderfully strange to ourselves." So within this idea, the fear to go deeper remains the barrier to actually knowing our true selves and what we're really here in this life for.
Yes. So going into the astrology of what's going on now, and I want to give like a brief little 3-month kind of foresight, is to think that there is a major conjunction happening in January where we're being asked by Saturn and Pluto specifically, to transform these old ways of doing things, like what was safe. We might be recreating a same situation or staying in an old situation because it's safe, even though it's not good for us, or it's not allowing us to grow, because only do we grow, we kind of have to put ourselves into uncomfortable situations so that we can relearn, because if we're in a comfortable space...
Well, it's like imprisoning yourself in what's safe. It's like you're creating your own prison, but that safety is like you're confined.
Yes. So we're being challenged to move into new directions, but also within the astrology, we're in Mercury retrograde, which is also in Scorpio. So everything is we're redoing things, like stuff that may have been from the past, like you're getting asked to relook at it. A lot of times old relationships come back up. You might have old boyfriends, regardless of whether you're committed or not. It might just be a thought that you have about somebody from your past that comes up, just so that you're like, oh, and then you identify something that was about that relationship or that old job or that old situation, and it comes to the forefront, And you can either say, look at it and say, oh, now like I have grown so much from that last time. We just had a moment earlier, about an hour or so ago, where it's like this same situation happened maybe even a year ago. Okay, so that, yes, that comes to me because yes, a lot of stuff that's going to be happening over this retrograde. Think about last year at this time. What happened in your life last year at this time for this 2 weeks, the last bit of October? It's like you're retracing those steps. Different situations are coming up in front of you to see, like, how did I handle that same situation, but how did I grow from where it might have happened or mirrored a year ago? So look at those kinds of spots in your life. There is a lot about relationships. The masculine energy is in Libra. This is this very Two of Cups, Two of Wands, Two of Pentacles, like anything where there's this balance of left and right, feminine and masculine, the I versus we. So a lot has to do with how we're relating to others and how now we're in that aspect of like transforming these old relationships. There's going to be an essence of over the next 2 weeks, different relationships and partnerships are going to come up in your life. These are very faded. A lot of them are going to be situations we're not really bringing new people into our life. It's more people who have already been in your storyline that now you're going to recommit to each other on a whole new level. So it's like maybe this friend that you've been friends with for a while, like it's going to come back around and you're going to commit to them for some kind of purpose, and then they're going to become like a part of your tribe. It's like the way that it was said in one of the astrology people that I follow was like, who's in your foxhole? Who would you allow in that foxhole with you? Who's your ride or die? Who's the people that have got your back? What's your safe space? Who's your inner circle? Like, that's Meet the Fockers, where he's like the circle of trust. Like this next 2 weeks is like you're drawing a line around you and it's like I'm pulling you into my circle of trust, I'm pulling you into my circle of trust, I'm pulling you into my circle of trust. Okay, so that is like the essence of this week is who is your ride or die? Who do you want in your foxhole? These old relationships that are going to come back into your life, those relationships are going to transform and take on a whole new level, a whole new space. There also might be people from your past that come up and then they show you, oh, that's why you weren't in my life anymore, or why we did go separate ways. Now this is showing me again, oh, nope, we're not doing that. So the very inner circle, that's kind of the theme. Relationships is the theme. Today, the moon is in Scorpio, and it's all about power, who you want in your foxhole. I do have that written down. Now I see it. Faded choices, align with power. There's some illusions that are going to be kind of coming up where it's like you see it, but it's not, it's like I can't grasp it completely yet.
But at a gut level, there's a knowing. You can feel, you're like, I don't know, that doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
So connect with that intuitive knowing.
Yes. There's going to be like a lot of aha moments where there's like, oh, like where your little like light bulb is just going to be shattering. So there's going to be several spots today, and that's going to happen a lot this week in general. Your dream is being challenged. So whatever is between your goal of whatever you're trying to achieve, there's going to be different things that come in that try and challenge you and present obstacles. There's kind of a cranky, crabby energy today, but these are faded situations. Like again, so it's like you can mirror back to see how far you've grown, okay? There might be some stuff where people are kind of talking trash and kind of talking crap, where you're going to have to figure out whether you want to deal with this or not. And there's going to be other things that go on that, again, you're just going to notice things, these small little details where it's going to, again, like come to that, like, oh, now I see it.
Well, Scorpio's the investigator. So you may not have to say out loud to these people, like, oh, I see you're doing this and I don't like it. But you're like, oh, I see that. I'm making a mental note. Mm-hmm. I'm putting it in my investigation log.
Yep. And then, that log is what we're going to shift into, which is going to help steer your boat.
Yeah.
And then there could be a feeling, there's a Chiron aspect today where you feel like you're not good enough. there could be different things that come up. These might be these challenges where you're going to feel maybe suppressed, rejected, where it could, you could feel like I'm not, I had this moment actually last night. So then tomorrow, the moon is going to be void until about 2 o'clock tomorrow. So it's like from this afternoon, there's not going to be a whole, it's going to be meant for meditation and all of that kind of stuff, like stillness, not necessarily getting stuff done. So about tomorrow at about 2 p.m., the moon goes into Sag, which is more about philosophy, adventure, being inspired, expanding. Trajectory, pointing your, okay, so you come to this new moon where we're creating a new beginning, and now tomorrow you're going to take your bow and arrow, aim, and
point it in the direction you want to go. Yeah, so being focused on where you want to go, not focused on the fears, is going to be important.
Tomorrow you might be approached to make a commitment, to commit to somebody, commit to an idea, commit to your dream. You're going to see different partnerships very clearly. You're just going to understand and know why. Tomorrow is a lot about thinking about it, processing, expanding on an idea, like taking one thing and then making those, like, what are that when you word vomit on the paper, like, and
brainstorming. Yeah, it's like a brainstorming activity.
Yeah, tomorrow would be a good day to do a brainstorming activity. Wednesday, moon is still in Sagittarius, so Wednesday is when you see something again, it's true. I'm telling you, the next 2 weeks is all about things being unveiled. The veil is at its thinnest this week. Like yesterday was the Day of the Dead, right?
Yeah.
All the way till Halloween. So this is where in our, the realm between worlds is at its thinnest. The trees, the way that Ann Ortley put it is like, the trees created obstacles all year long, right? Because they had all this foliage. Well, during Scorpio season, all of those leaves die and you can see through it. So think about that in even other aspects of your life. Like people's leaves are going to be shedding off of them, and you're going to be able to have this transparency with people's situations and things. So
and there's oftentimes a fear of this transparency or this death, but really when we're letting go of something that no longer gives us life, like you're almost holding on to you're clinging to the death aspect instead of like letting that thing that no longer has life go. Like it's more morbid to cling on to the dead thing than it is to be like, oh, let it go.
And let it transform into like a rebirth of something else.
Right, to bring life back in.
Yep. So look at your environment. So just kind of noticing, I would say, on Wednesday, taking time, like there's a lot about, there could be challenges underneath your home. These aha moments are going to bring like, oh, now I understand why. Oh, I understand this. Because actually Sagittarius is all about I understand. Because it's like I've learned. Sagittarius is all about philosophy and learning.
The teacher.
Now I understand. So what do you want to do to work on your dream? So whatever it is that's been coming to you that you've been wanting to focus on and work towards and build on, what do you want to work on? Thursday on Halloween and Friday, there's a lot of health aspects. So if there's anything that you that is coming up for you, it is strongly urged for you to kind of do something to, like say you've had acid reflux and it's like now maybe, again, you're looking and identifying, well, when I eat tomatoes, it gives me acid reflux. Well, am I going to take a pill that just kind of masks it? Or am I going to like maybe not eat tomatoes anymore? So anything that's kind of affecting you in a health way, physical, like I would be very discerning on Thursday and Friday and make a commitment to changing that, whether it be go to the doctors or make, something like that. Thursday also has this idea of being very exaggerated. There's a Jupiter aspect, so you could feel like you're overdoing, overcommitting, over. So just maybe allow for some temperance on Thursday. Friday is another health aspect, but Venus moves into Sagittarius. So the feminine aspect of our collective is going to start to feel like you might feel this overwhelming need to like, oh, I want to learn about that. Oh, I want to investigate that. Like, oh, I want to, dive into that, expand on that. So you could find on Friday, there's a lot about being creative. There's a lot about kind of going further into it. This weekend, we have Well, and then on Thursday and Friday, the moon is in Capricorn, so it's all about making a list. Like, really get to that point of like, okay, well, we had this new moon, we had this idea, we have these things that we want to create going forward, but now how are we going to get there? We need to put it on paper, we need to have a direction from Sagittarius, and then we need to make a plan of how we're going to get up the mountain to reach that top. This weekend, I know there is a lot of separating aspects this weekend. So the energy is all about like bringing these parallels of partnerships and relationships and kind of transforming them, start talking about something new that we're going to build. But whatever no longer serves us, by Saturday and Sunday, you're going to know whether you want to let it go, or you're going to bring it in and it's going to be in the foxhole with you, or it's going to be in your circle of trust. So, you know, this whole week, there could be some crunchy aspects, and everything is really like, no matter whether it's the astrology I've been looking up, the cards I've been pulling, what's been intuitively coming into me, or the people that I follow, the consistent thing that I've been hearing over and over and over and over again is that there's a lot of secrets coming up and a lot of transparency. So if your intuition has been telling you something, you've been doing investigating on something, you're being led to something to reveal itself to you. So just trust your intuition and kind of follow that lead. So again, we're kind of working through, you could have some like debating all week long, but by this weekend, there's going to be like a separating of that. Like there's going to be choices that are made. But this next 2 weeks, this Mercury retrograde and the lead up to the Taurus full moon is all about getting real. Getting real with what you want, getting real with the people that are surrounding you and the partnerships and the collaborations that you're in.
The only caution I'd give with that, like, trust your intuition, things are going to be revealing, but the difference in, like, the self focus between Aries and Scorpio is Aries, like, sees it and jumps on it immediately, whereas Scorpio will just keep track. Like, I saw that, okay, write that down, it doesn't pounce on it immediately. So it's like, just because you're getting some information or some intuition, like, wait and let it fully culminate before you like jump in and say, no, I don't want you on my team. Like, let the full story play out, see the full vision, you know, and then make your decision. So just when you feel that gut instinct, like, just jot that down, journal it, you know, keep track of that.
And the two signs that you just brought up were Aries and Scorpio, which are both Mars energies. They're ruled by Mars, which is that masculine plunge forward, sword in hand. But when you think about, if you find something that comes up that makes you want to rage war against something, because that really is the energy right now. Think about how a battle or how something is planned. You have action that you have to take, but there's also strategy with war. Yeah, the art of war. So you have to build the strategy first and then go forward with it.
Yeah.
And Mars is in Libra. So what is Libra?
There's strategy and balance that's necessary. It's
and
not
fairness.
Just jumping and absolute on the scales of take that information, you know, look at it, balance it. What does it look like? So it's not reactive. It waits. It lets it settle. The other thing you mentioned, the challenges coming up a lot, and the thing about the challenges coming up is they're forcing us to become stronger and more deeply connected to our deeper self that's beyond the ego personality. So these challenges are coming up to show you the limitations of that ego personality. And so the challenges may feel frustrating. You may be like, ugh, but really they are to make you stronger and show you the deeper part of yourself or the situation or the essence of, you know, the challenge is bringing out the ideal that is trying to be presented rather than just frustrating you.
I keep hearing why. Even earlier today when we were talking, I keep hearing why. Why is it challenging you? Why is it frustrating you? Why?
Because that will give you, that will help you dive into the why, will help you discover that root that it's trying to get you at, to grow over that barrier, that fear.
And Uranus is in Taurus right now, so it's really about that earth sign, and what Taurus represents is the dirt that holds the tree into the ground. And so if you get to things at a root level, like why is the tree tilting over? Well, there's not enough, soil around the roots, like, or, following that. And I also think it takes you on a journey of self-discovery. Like, if you keep asking, you ask why, write it down. Okay, then why again? That's in life coaching. They teach you to follow the why, follow the trail of why.
In therapy, same thing. They would get you to answer more and more and more until we get at the root level of really where that behavior that seems, whatever, unreasonable, really where it's stemming from.
Okay, so that's the theme within what the astrology is suggesting. Now we're going to go through what kind of spirit wants us to share and how we can work with that energy. And April's going to start with that.
Okay, so I'll start us off with these overall reading cards that I got. The first one, new moon in Sagittarius. So she said by, what was it, Thursday, Friday, we'll be in the Sagittarius moon. So you can see again, it shows this this bow and arrows, that archer, and pointing in the right direction. And I feel like the reason they're showing us this is because we're going through this scorpionic energy of going deep into our souls, sifting through really hard information, and it may feel like you're going through some sort of like natural even depression with this, because it's like you're being purged of things that are not pleasant. So they're kind of pointing to like, don't worry, there's a bigger picture in all this. There's a reason why we're doing this, is because we're really trying to connect with where we're pointing this arrow of our life. So that's why we're going through the mud. Okay, so stay focused on that. And then, so the other card that I get is don't let your past hold you back. And that's exactly what we're sifting through right now, is to release whatever is in this, this is the South Node, right? And whatever is in this like bag we're holding that no longer serves us, like we're going to let that go so we can be released into sending our arrow for our life in the right direction. That's what I get for an overall read in what we're going into.
And what I'm going to touch on these two real quick. We pulled the Hawk twice today card, one from earlier today, and then it showed up again today, so I feel like it's very much like in our face. The Hawk is the messenger, is what it says. And it says, Spirit is sending you a message. Open your greater vision to see the signs. Focus on priorities and eliminate distractions. You have a bright future. Let yourself ascend to new heights. So again, I feel like that's like we can be clinging on to this stuff from the past that's not allowing us to shoot our arrow in the direction we need to go.
So this would be the focus, and this would be what was the other word you used?
I don't know.
The baggage.
Oh, yeah.
Focus, baggage, right there.
Mm-hmm.
We're all working together.
Mm-hmm. And see the signs. Like that's where I was telling you, there's signs, synchronicities everywhere right now. But this one's a little bit longer, and I'm going to try and read it as fast as I can. But it's, again, I think this has to go with seeing the signs. It's called the Queen of the Dark Elves, and it's all about premonitions, foreshadowing. So it's like letting you know what's about to come, and the mystery. So sometimes there is a stirring, a shimmering movement, subtle, unmistakable in the web called that connects us all. This is one such time. The Queen of the Dark Elves has come forth to speak to you and to ask you to be aware of something that is approaching. It's like you start to see the storm is a-brewing. When she appears, there is a very potent force readying itself in your life. And while its impact is yet to be truly felt, so again, the intuitive part, like you feel like it might be coming, felt and experienced, it's best for you to ready yourself. So like she was talking about with the Scorpio energy, making the plan before you go in for the attack. So when this card comes up, make good of your defenses. Tend to injuries or wounds, health aspects that I talked about earlier, be they psychic, mental, or physical. Take care of unfinished business, South Node stuff, and bring in whatever you can. Gather up resources. So fall, what are we doing? We harvest all these things so that we can do our canning. Gather up resources and be ready for when the moment strikes and descends. So when the Aries does happen and the strike happens, you are prepared because you have done all your Scorpio, collected all of your data. Gather up resources and be ready for the moment of the strike, because something that was unexpected could have harmed you, could have taken you off unaware. So this, I say this in a very dark energy, but also like something amazing could come in and you have to be ready to like yep, that's mine. So it could be positive too. There is no cause to be scared, frightened, or anxious. This card indicates that you have time to prepare. And I'm telling you, you have 3 months, so no need to rush. This is a 3-month process before we're really kind of committing. But make no mistake, there is a challenge coming, and you can now prepare to minimize its impact and ride out the intense wave of energy it brings. So, from the Hawk's perspective, rise up, see the signs. They're both mirroring the same thing. Do what you need to do to prepare for something that's unexpected that might come in. Get me let her out.
Get me let her out. Sure, that's fine. Okay, so now going into the next cards that I drew, which are the tarot cards. The first two that come up, the first one is the Three of Pentacles, which you can see here is 3 people kind of working harmoniously with this harvesting of these pentacles, or let's say harvesting of, whatever fruit is on that tree, which seems great, which I feel like this is like what our ideal is. We want things to look like this. But underneath this sort of hiding I feel like this is us and what we want and what we're trying to see things as, even if they're not there. Whether we're not being honest with ourselves about if this relationship is harmonious or not, there's something hiding under it in the aspect of isolation. So this Page of Wands upright, but we drew it in the reverse, which sometimes can be about isolation. So maybe, we are in this dynamic of working with people, but where we're not really feeling, actually our true self isn't feeling connected, or we're not able to be our true selves with these people we're working with. So again, it's like, if we're going back to what she said about the foxhole, if this is the foxhole, the people that we're in here with, why are we feeling isolated? So there's some lightning coming on this situation that is not what it seems, or isn't as fulfilling deeply for you as what you would like. So those come up upright. Now what comes up that are not upright is the Magician and the Ace of Cups. And the Magician was kind of over the Ace of Cups. So the Ace of Cups is about this, again, we're talking about the water element. So this emotional fulfillment, and about this new cup of emotional fulfillment being offered. And then with the Magician card over it, which the Magician is the ability to basically manifest what you want. So taking this thought out of the dreamland and saying, yes, that's what I want to bring to fruition. So the way I'm seeing these interact together is that you wanting this emotional fulfillment and your ability to draw it into your awareness, but this is all facing down, meaning that either this is hidden from you, you have not tapped into this ability to draw what you want emotionally into your life, or you just don't know that you can do this yourself. And then the third tarot card, so I will put those up right now, even though they were down sort of not in our vision. And then the third one that comes up, and this just was like on the side, and I didn't even, I said to Jess, I said, where did this card come from? It just was sitting there. And this was a card that came up earlier for us as well, is this Ten of Swords, which is actually about defeat. So something we are feeling defeated in.
And it was sitting right by the selenite wand,
yes.
Which means something needs to be purified.
So whatever it is deep down in your soul that, you feel defeated about, it's time to allow that to wash away.
So last minute, I'm going to change how I was going to read. Because of the relationship and what came up, I pulled, and what she just said, the first 2 cards I pulled is Treasure Island. So that's the Ace of Cups. I feel like it parallels to that, is like, what is this treasure island here? Like, where there's all of this bliss surround the island that's surrounded by emotional fulfillment. Mm-hmm. And it's oh wait, no, it's a turtle. Yep. It's a turtle with the treasure chest on the top. So there's like this movement, maybe moving into Treasure Island, or a turtle is kind of like, because of its flat back. But what is that treasure? What does your treasure island look like? Mm-hmm. And then I know it's relationship because these two came up, and then I have the loyal hearts, and that comes to like what is your ride or die? Like what does that look like for you? Where are your divine what are the relationships? Not just even romantic, but who are the relationships in your life? Like April and I have been working together probably for what, 3 years?
2015 was when we
Four
met.
when we met, but I would say a year after
Yes,
that is when we
agreed,
really started
agreed.
like working together. So I would say that even her and I, in an aspect, are divine complements, not in a romantic fashion, but in working environments. Like we complement each other really well, and we've gone through a lot of obstacles and challenges to prove that to be true. So where are your loyal hearts? So who are the people that are in that circle of trust? I come back to, so then I put the relationship aspect on it, like on love. This Mercury retrograde, I feel like, is going to bring in something, and it says, the reason why I say the Mercury retrograde is bringing these relationships to the forefront of your mind, it says because this is a partner you've already met. It's a romantic partner you've already met. So it's either somebody you're already coupled with or somebody from your past that's going to circle around and come back to show you. So, you know, what is your treasure island? There's somebody in your past that might, and I apologize for my nail polish. Don't judge me. So somebody from your past that may have been like your treasure island, or maybe if you're currently coupled, thinking about what about that relationship that you already currently have makes you feel like you have this treasure island. And then when I get loyal hearts, again, the number one thing is, do you trust? Who do you trust? If there's trust there, like I even know that if her and I have challenges and confrontation, like we can have an argument and she goes left and I go right and we take peace, but I don't worry. Like I know that we're always going to come back because I trust her, she trusts me. And those are the relationships that I've even been discerning in my life, where it's like, where do you feel like there could be this feeling of abandonment or, you know, loss, or you're scared or you don't trust? Like, notice that. And notice what's loyal, and notice where you feel this abandonment feeling.
Mm-hmm. So it's funny, I went through all my tarot cards and I skipped this one.
Ooh.
Okay, so going back to the beginning tarot card, so this one is the Four of Pentacles, and this one actually represents stagnation. And this is at the top of all the other stuff that I read. So there's something within all of these ideas that I was talking about, within this harmony, feeling isolated, you know, the emotional fulfillment for us to manifest that, and the defeat is all under this idea of stagnation. So these ideas that are all coming up during this new moon in Scorpio, during the Scorpio, you know, Mercury retrograde, is illuminating to you where these stagnations are, so you can release them and connect to your destiny, to your higher purpose, to your soul's desires. So now I'm going to go through clarifiers of each of these tarot cards. So we're starting again with our stagnation, and I get a prosperity card upside down. So whatever the stagnation we're going to be looking at is actually blocking us from that prosperity, both financially and emotionally. Another clarifier I get is simplicity. So it's and under the simplicity I'm getting trust. So there's something about trust is coming up again. There's something about like we're overcomplicating it. You know, why we can't trust somebody, when we just need to be straightforward about why it is we can't trust, and either heal those wounds or move on. Like that person's either allowed in the foxhole or they're not. And then the last clarifier on this one is here, the ancient ones. So that's connecting to our ancestors. They do talk to us through dreams. You know, even if you don't believe in spirit guides and all that, like we have dreams, and they can connect to us in that aspect of talking to us through our dreams. So being open to being guided. So that's for the stagnation part of it. Now moving into the Three of Pentacles. So this whole, you know, relationship in the foxhole that we want, this harmonious relationship with the people we're working with, either in relationship or career. I'm getting that focus, but I got to focus upside down. So I'm not sure what we're focused on. So I'll show you that image that way. But we might not be focused on the right thing, or we may not be able to focus because we're so worried about, you know, this Page of Wands that came with this. that we're feeling isolated. So our focus is on this isolation maybe, and not helping us to be focused on, the task at hand that's going on here. And then the other one I get is embrace spirit. So if we want this harmonious relationship, we need to focus and we need to allow spirit to work through us, work within our relationships. If we're clinging to, being focused on the way it should be rather than accepting the way it is or purifying the way that it is, this ideal we're getting stuck on is not getting us any closer. If we're not able to work with what is currently, in our awareness, if we're like pretending that this is the way it is and it's really not, like we're never going to get here. And then again, what came with that is this Page of Wands upside down, representing an isolation within that dynamic, or feeling isolated from that relationship that we want. And the two clarifiers I get is let two become one in community. So this is definitely about working within relationships. Yep, going back to what she had going on here about partnerships, about community, about family, about who we want in that foxhole with us.
Damn fox.
And then for the Ace of Cups, again, this, new beginning within emotional fulfillment. Yours was what was it? Treasure Island. So this emotional fulfillment we want to draw in, or that is waiting for us.
The one that could be the one.
The one that could be the one. For the clarifier I get for that is it's going to require us to do some forgiving to allow that to come in. So again, it's this purification, letting go of what no longer serves us. And then under this, I get love and solitude. So I'm getting that this love and solitude is like love with a partner, love with the self.
Yeah, you maybe need to go back, like into solitude, to think about things during Mercury retrograde or whatever, so that you can learn how to forgive, so that you can trust, so that you can trust.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on there for the emotional fulfillment to come in. There's that forgiveness. The other clarifiers I get with this, so there is this forgiveness that's necessary for this love to come in. And I think the reason it gave me solitude is that we're also focused on our own self-love. And part of self-love is having healthy boundaries. And healthy boundaries isn't just, this is my rule. If you want to be in a relationship with me, Jess, it's actually me telling you, like, for me to feel safe in a relationship, this is what I need, Jess. Because now I'm being intimate with her and I'm allowing her to have a closer relationship with me to make me feel safe and trusted. We will have a deeper relationship.
Think about, okay, can you elaborate on what you talked about when you first got here, and you were talking about how, like, when you come in, and then I, like, and learning how, like, it's okay for me to be this, but I have to make allowance. I know I'm speaking in code, but she understands what I'm saying.
So she said that I came in at a level 20, and that it's hard for her to even be at a level 10. And what I came back is I said, well, really, I'm naturally at a level 50, and I dialed it back to a 25 around you, and you're now asking me to come back to a 20, which I'm not saying I'm not unwilling to do, but I had to explain to her, like, that's hard for me. I can do that for this relationship, but I needed the credit to know, like, I'm doing the work to keep my energy where we can, like, where you can tolerate my flamey, fiery energy or whatever.
And I also need to come up. Like, that's the thing, is where to come up so that we're meeting in the middle.
Yeah, meeting in the middle. Right, so that is, she told me her boundary by saying, like, I'm going to need you to take that level 20 and maybe try to dial it down to a 15. And then I told her my boundary, okay, because I'm coming from a level 50, I probably can get to a 20, and going to 15 might be really hard for me.
And so I just sat and held rose quartz.
So we worked out boundaries. And then the other two cards I get for this is about the heart center and our passions, which goes right along with Treasure Island, Ace of Cups, that we are talking about emotions, our heart space, our passions. And I just really go back to this forgiveness. We're really going to have to
rose
go
quartz.
in. Yeah, no, I've been like holding it for a while. So rose quartz, highly recommend that one for this week, to hold on to that. And then there's the Magician. And again, the Magician is going to help us get what we want. So this is like what we want. And the Magician's going to help us, like, actually alchemize that. So it's like this alchemy of how to bring this into reality. So our ability to be the magician, which we all have the ability to manifest, even if we're not giving ourselves credit. You were born to create, right? There's my clarifier. It's just totally supporting. Like, you can manifest the emotional fulfillment you want. You have to believe in that. I get adventures. I get birth. So this is all the creative potential that you have innately in you to create that emotional fulfillment. So it definitely says we have the power.
But you have to be willing to transform. Or you have to be willing
to do that thing, that, right? We don't forgive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's forgiveness not of other people, but, well,
maybe
it is. It
includes,
but it includes the forgiveness of the self, and sometimes that requires boundaries for ourselves and for others.
Like, even like, I'm sorry, but I need this boundary.
Yes. Yeah, well, yeah, like we talked about with the levels of energy that we had to somehow find where you could come up to and where I could come down to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was
the Oreo cookie.
It was the Oreo cookie. So the last tarot card, again, with this Ten of Swords. So underneath all of this stuff, right, we've got this, like, defeat that we've dealt with in the past. And what I get with this one is I get that this is about our third chakra, which is right here at the solar plexus, which is about our personal power. And I get inner power, so these are literally like mirroring the same things. The inner power, and upside down, I get heal the heart and the spirit. So something that happened to us, something that defeated us in the past, defeated our personal willpower, our personal powers to some degree. And that is something that we're working through within this Mercury retrograde, within this scorpionic energy.
And the solar plexus rules almost your ability to create, because then your ability to create is your sacral. So if this is blocked, this isn't working either.
Well, I mean, your sacral could be working, and you have all this creative force, but if your willpower, it's not, your creativity is just stagnating, right? So there's the stagnation card, and it's not able to actually manifest out into your reality because it's sticking at your ability to pull it out.
It's stopping here. It can't get to the heart, to the throat, to the
Yes. And then the other cards I get is we are all connected, and then blessings and taking risks. So what I kind of get with that is that in the cycle of life, we all experience defeat. We all have this within us. Somewhere within our psyche, we've been defeated before in one aspect or another. So this is a universal life experience, and everybody can relate on it. There's no like, my life was worth, or my defeat was worth. Like, we've all experienced what that feeling is. And it's separating us from the blessings of life. So we need to take a risk in facing. You know, it's like this is in the middle. Like, we need to take the risk of going emotionally, plunging back through this to get to the blessings again. That's good.
Okay. So now I'm going to go into a little bit of my story. I'm going to kind of touch briefly. First, in the past, I get the 8 of fire. So events moving at a fast pace. So I feel like as stuff has been stuff has been feeling like it's been coming in, information might start I feel like this is more saying that this is like it's not here yet. It's gonna start coming in towards you. Like, you're gonna feel like, I don't know, like the 8. I feel like more like the 8 of Swords. Like, it's all coming at you. But what it's telling you is all of this information is giving you the ability to manifest in a new way. So the page is all about being young, being naive, being new to something. And the Wands is telling me, like, to me the Wands is all about like creating something, manifesting something. So all this information that might come in, you might not know what to do with it. But what this is telling me is, I also got the point of, it's bringing you to a space of being emotionally naive, like taking the old life, pulling that piece of paper off the easel, and then having a new easel to be able to paint whatever you want. So you can have this perspective of, if something comes in that's challenging, news comes in that you don't like, you have the ability to utilize that and how you are going to move forward. You can either sit back, sulk, and be depressed, or you can say, okay, well, at least now I know. At least now I know. That's what I keep hearing, is at least now I know. So then somewhere in her reading, that ability to go in, so maybe when this information comes into you, it's like the ability to kind of step back, go into solitude, process it, determine what you're going to do with it. Can you forgive? Even if you forgive somebody, doesn't mean you need to have them in your life, right? So it's like still being able to forgive them, but like I'm going to discern, create a boundary. We're going to go our separate ways. But yeah, there doesn't need to be this unresolved conflict.
Or hard feelings, or unforgiveness.
Or unforgiveness. Then I get the Chariot in the next, so maybe the next thing to start to is how are we going to move forward? So an important achievement, self-discipline and willpower. So the willpower, so something's going to come from that solar plexus. And public recognition. So maybe seeing where you've come so far that maybe the last time that this same situation, we're in Mercury retrograde, so another situation comes up with a person, place, or thing, like look at how far you've come and maybe handle it differently this time. Because then I got the High Priest, which is being, it's like the Hierophant card, and it's like, are you going to take, it's also, the Hierophant card is like, I've learned all of this stuff. Now I can share the information, but also that can be dogmatic. It's like, well, I've done this, this, and this is how you should do it. Well, no. Like sharing our information with somebody is different than telling somebody your information. So maybe learning how to move forward with your information, that's what I get from that. But it's like, because you feel like somebody's been withholding something from you, like you might be feeling like there's been some kind of deception, there's been something that's been withheld, something that's been taken from you. So knowing, and it's something that's out of balance, okay? So communicating your information, moving forward with it about maybe something where you feel like there's an imbalance. And then I got how we're kind of going through this is I got the 8 of Earth. Skilled work is rewarded. So again, you taking the high road and maybe, working towards forgiveness, that being the goal, knowing that we have a ways to get there, but the goal is like achieving forgiveness, not achieving war and anger and bitterness and resentment, okay? Compassion, compassion, compassion. The 4 of Pentacles, I want to relook at what this interpretation is. Possessions and obstacles. So maybe you feel like something's been taken from you. Something that was yours, that was given to you. And then in the last card I got, kids are home. I got go with the flow. So this came up in a reading that we were doing earlier, that she was doing earlier. It's where it's like this give and take, where this communication is coming in, where it's like maybe you listen, you hear, you listen, go with the flow. When somebody says something, we kind of pull back and like relax instead of striking in. So like the Scorpio, we listen and we collect all the data instead of reacting and going forward with war. Okay, and then you go ahead. We're almost done. Okay.
Okay, so then, so we've gone through the whole situation and explaining that, and now we're going to how we're going to be guided to deal with this challenge. So the energy that's contributing to this challenge that they're asking us to look at and maybe adjust, maybe flip this, because I'm getting the Coyote card upside down, and so they are asking us to do some work to flip this, or change this energy, or maybe upgrade this energy. So what I get from Coyote is that Coyote is known as a trickster, right? So sometimes they trick themselves, actually. So again, I go back to this card, the 3 of Pentacles, that has the the page that is representing isolation under it. So what are we tricking ourselves in seeing? Are we seeing?
She just snuck behind us.
So that's okay. So Coyote, so this trickster kind of energy. Are we really being honest with ourselves about everything that we're seeing, about what we really want and desire? So it's not necessarily saying you've got to get rid of the Coyote energy, but like just being very honest with ourselves.
What's sneaking around?
Yeah, what's sneaking around? What are we hiding from ourselves? What I loved about learning about Coyote is I thought, oh well, I'm not tricky. I don't have any of this like weird manipulative energy. And then I learned that humor is actually a form of trickery where you can be honest and it's a little bit lighter, so it doesn't feel as, because, any sort of constructive criticism might cause friction, right? That doesn't mean we avoid it and we don't do it at all, because I might need to tell Jessica if something she's doing is really making me bitter, and eventually I'm going to erupt in an explosion, right? We don't want that. We don't want to erupt in an explosion, so I need to be able to tell her. So there is some benefit of this trickery per se, right?
What's your intention behind it?
What is your intention? So if I'm trying to tell
I want to
Jessica
salvage this friendship.
I want to salvage this friendship, so I have to tell her this thing, but if I do it through humor, trickery, it might, help that be a little easier. So maybe you are resisting, having that humorous conversation because it's upside down. Like you're not even trying to do, to have this conversation or this humorous way of, expressing this truth. So that's what they're asking us to change about our current, currently what we're doing. And then the energies that I asked, what is going to help us resolve this challenge is the first one that comes up is deer, which represents a gentleness. So if I'm going to use this as an example of whatever Jessica's doing that's bothering me and making me bitter, is I'm going to approach her gently. So I'm going to be nice and be like, Jessica,
especially because I have a Pisces moon.
I have to talk to you about something very important. I'm not going to come in and say, when you
now
do
this
bothers me. It's like, I need to talk to you about something that's really bothering me. And I'm gonna assure her I love you. I am only telling you, so this gentleness in this conversation. Gentleness, very, very required in these in-depth conversations to make each other feel safe, is a very gentle,
not
kind.
defensive.
Yeah, this is not defensive. This is like
I want to hear
those deer eyes that are big and wide open, and like, I am here to talk from the heart.
Mm-hmm. Or else I'm not even gonna hear her. If she comes in attacking, I'm not
She
gonna
won't
hear
even
her, and
hear
I'm gonna
anything
like
I
just
say,
stop
unless I use the deer eyes. Okay, and then the second one I get is the beaver, and the beaver is a worker. He is not going to walk away from this friendship because there's this thing that's happening that causes friction. He's going to work on it. He's going to be committed to working through this problem because I want a relationship with Jessica.
And I'm going to listen because I'm also committed to my friendship.
Right, so staying committed and keep working on it. So the beaver is about just working. Like, he's so industrious. Like, you could tear down this reminds me of my brother, because he explained in detail about how you could ruin a beaver's whole home, and within one day he won't even care, and he'll just rebuild it again because he's such a hard worker.
Aww, I like that.
And as he was swearing about these beavers are and then the third one I get for the advice is the spider web, which is interesting that I drew it upside down. I'm not really sure what that means, but in its full essence, it is we did talk about this before, which is you are the weaver of your web.
Well,
so
what do you want to create?
Yeah, so if it's in reverse, I guess it's saying, are you like, why are you stagnating, building your own, building the life that you want? Are you allowing other people to create this, the home that you are creating? Are you
letting other people's projections? So even me telling her, like, I want you to be down at a 10, and she's like, I really like to be at a 50, but I'll settle, we're going to come here in this middle. Because even today I'm at a 10, but maybe tomorrow I'm at a 20.
Yeah.
So like looking at that and like, how much is that worth to you, of what's the grand scheme? So even like, let's not even say it's within relationship, maybe it's within your dream. Like, how much, what is it that you want? That's what that keeps saying to me, is what is it that you want? What is it that you want to come out of going to work? What is it that you want to come out of your relationship with your children, your family, your friendships, anything? Is it worth putting in that work to build this dream, to build, to be the weaver of your web?
Yeah. Are you embodying actually being the one who builds your web, or are you relying on
other people to build your web,
your husband, your wife, your parents,
your happiness?
Yes. Oh, yes. You are codependency. Because you are the weaver of your own web, you are the only person that can build that spider web. If you let other people do it, then you might not be happy, because your ideals are probably not going to be the same, exactly the same. It might be similar. Okay, so the advice is, I get the magic card, and I don't. I always get worried about the magic card, being
Working with Pisces and Neptune.
being like, we're not talking about voodoo magic, okay? We're talking about the magic of love, the magic of birth, the
What makes you
magic
feel
of,
magical.
yeah, like, God or universe or spirit, like that magic that comes through, in these miracles, that kind of magic. Are you allowing that in your life, or have you forgotten that magic even exists?
But
Have you
also-
forgotten your connection to spirit? Have you
Well, a
forgotten
magician.
that you can pray to God, that you can, yeah, you're a magician. Have you forgotten you have this, have you forgotten you are a co-creator
With God.
with God? Not that somebody else, whether it's codependency with a person or, oh, God, just, everything happens and I'm not, you are co-creating this with great spirit or God or universe or whatever word you like to supplement there. You are a co-creator. That's really what this is about, reminding you that you have control over what happens in your life. It's not like you're not.
Life is not happening to you.
Yeah. Wow, that was okay. That's a big one. And then the last thing, yeah, my mind blown on that one. The last thing I have is called what I call the medicine, and these are actually plants that you could get the flower essences too. But so the first one is larch, okay, and the message is no one can make you feel inferior without
funny.
your consent. Same one we drew earlier. Success comes in cans and can'ts. And so this is about confidence. And I think that the reason that this comes up is because, again, this
We all have
defeat, we all have something that has affected our willpower and our confidence. So this is going to help with a lack of confidence, a feeling of inadequacy, and an expectation of failure. This is going to help us feel confident, self-assured, and self-esteem. So again, this is a flower remedy you could purchase called larch. The second one is about contentment, and this is honeysuckle. And the medicine is do not dwell on the past. So again, we're talking about South Node baggage, okay? Don't dwell on the past. Do not dream about the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. So that's interesting because we do get this direction for the future, right? But it's essentially saying both of these are just about trajectory, right? We got to let go of the past. We can aim at the future, but really where we are is in the present moment. That's where the majority of the cards are, is in the center of what we're dealing with in the present moment.
And knowing at any moment, that's why every month we are given a new beginning. That we have like this clean slate with the new moon, that we can refocus that trajectory and recreate at any moment you can choose.
So honeysuckle is to help remedy nostalgia, like being stuck in nostalgia. Like nostalgia is
Stuck in the
okay, but
past.
being stuck in, oh, it was better when I was in high school, or oh, it was better back when I was married, or whatever it is, or when I was, maybe it was when you weren't married. It's to help with being longing, bereaved, and stuck in the past. So what it's going to help you do is be content, to have an interest in the present, and help you progress. So again, that is honeysuckle. You could purchase that if you like. And the last one I have for the medicine is called vervain. Vervain.
That keeps away vampires.
And this helps to, well,
I watched that on a TV show. I'm just kidding.
well, I mean, if you think about vampires as energy suckers, that can be a real thing in reality that we talk about, right? So this is going to help you find mellowness. Okay, so this ancient plant has been used in herbal medicine for hundreds of years and is said to treat nervous system problems and insomnia. There is an easygoing nature that comes with a perspective of things that aren't as important as we make them sometimes. So I think this goes exactly with what we were talking about with this past and forward. Like if we make the past baggage the important thing, then we're stuck in the past. If we make the future the most important thing, then we're literally never living in the present. And where our problems are that are preventing us from moving out of the past and moving into the future is resolving the issues in the present moment. That's
And
like
she
the
always
middle
asks-
plane of
when
where we are.
When I'm having a moment, she always asks me, okay, where are you living and how much time have you been spending there? Like, depression is living in the past, anxiety is living in the future. So if you are, but yeah, again, if you don't deal with all of this stuff that's in your current moment, you're not going to be able to get out of the past, or you're going to be blocked constantly from going to the future.
Yeah, so this remedy, vervain, in a flower essence form, would be helpful to remedy the feeling of being stressed, having fanatical or intense thoughts or feeling, and being high strung. So what it will help you do is be relaxed, mellow, and tranquil, even objective. So again, that is vervain. And again, if you want to get the flower remedies for these, it is honeysuckle, larch, and
how would
vervain.
you use flower remedies if somebody doesn't know what they are or how to use them?
So flower remedies are basically the vibration of the plant.
Of a living essence.
Of the living essence of these plants, and you can purchase them at a health food store, and they come in little dropper bottles, and all you would do is take 1 drop of the flower essence, and sometimes I like to put it in a big container, so I think of that whole, like your whole big glass container, but you could put it, in, okay, I guess. You could put it
the
in...
vibration goes throughout the whole water.
Yeah, so if I put 1 drop in this and then I drank this, the vibration would be through that whole thing. So sometimes I like to put it in a whole gallon, so then I have this whole gallon with the essence, that flower essence in it. That way I don't have to use the dropper every time I have 1 glass of water. I just make it go further. So it would just, and it's virtually tasteless. So you would just drop these drops into your water or into your drink or into whatever. I've even put them on my pillow before. I've put them in somebody's boots. Like, they need some calming. Okay, that's my coyote trick.
Right. Truth to be told.
Yeah.
Okay, so my guidance of going forward, and can I have the rose quartz, please?
Yes.
And then the black. What is the black? Obsidian. So, actually no, the amethyst, please.
Amethyst.
So the last 3 cards that I got, and what kind of goes with all of this, is the Pisces I get is speaking to me in the aspect of right now Neptune. We have got a lot about, what's the dream? What have you been visualized? Neptune and Pisces is the spirit realm. It's your connection to God, or whatever that means for you, from the divine spirit coming down. And it's your intuition, but it also is about ultimate compassion, unforgiveness, unconditional love. So when you're looking at these relationships, like, I can honestly say that I have unconditional love for April. I mean, she would really have to do something horrible to sever our ties. So that's what this is like within relationships that are mirroring out into your life. Where is that unconditional love? Where is that compassion? Where is that forgiveness? And maybe this card, maybe somebody made you feel this way, somebody specifically that came in, and those swords came in, and it's like, again, we need to kind of go into those more Pisces qualities. Pisces is also a water, and it's emotion. So following your intuition, again, this can also come in with whatever your dreams are, wherever, feel like you're being led to do something with this tribe that's in your circle of trust. So the guidance for that is because I keep being drawn to this darn rose quartz, it's like, how can you forgive? Where do you feel that unconditional love, to follow your dreams with this certain tribe? Like, do you want them in there or not? What I get from here is obsidian. Now, this is protection. Will you tell me a little bit more about obsidian? As a rock,
so
as a stone.
I use obsidian when I feel that I need either energetic protection or physical protection. I see it as like a guardian. Like, it draws in guardian energy.
And sometimes we always can't get forgiveness, right? So maybe somebody that's done this to you, there's not always a happily ever after. Sometimes it just is, right? And
the other thing with obsidian is it comes from volcanic.
Something that's exploded.
Yeah, so from like fire energy, like the heat of fire, that's how it's formed, is through a volcanic activity.
And so maybe you need to be psychically protected, is why I feel like the The obsidian was calling to me with Pluto, because Pluto, like during the transformation, you might need to protect yourself, okay, so that you can step back and allow yourself to go through transformation. So hopefully you get to the forgiveness space, but like, so doing what you need to do to kind of create boundaries, you know.
Yeah, that would be a boundary stone.
Yes,
for sure.
this is a boundary stone. So allowing yourself, so the theme this week is like compassion, forgiveness, emotion, Neptune, the dreams. So follow your dreams, but also allow yourself to transform. And sometimes we need to kind of have a little bit more protective energy, because again, if we're going into the foxhole, maybe that's who your ride or die people are. You're bringing them around you for protection, to allow yourself to kind of transform. But where I'm coming at with Uranus is in Taurus, and Taurus, right now we are all being challenged to transform our very physical. Uranus is all about sudden inspiration. That's why I chose the amethyst, because amethyst rules crown chakra or third eye? Crown chakra. So that's, again, this portal from Pisces and Neptune for the information to come in, to intuit things. Maybe filtering the intuition to come through the rose quartz. Yeah.
Through loving heart space. Yeah.
So that you can bust through, because Uranus, again, is like this, it's electricity, it's sudden insight, sudden inspiration. It's like when the volcano goes poof.
Like the breakthrough.
That's the breakthrough. That's, yeah, when the volcano erupts, that's Uranus. So maybe your inner volcano might erupt, but know that it's allowing you to transform.
But like erupting, like this that we're holding on to, allowing you to break through, you know, this feeling.
Yes. But maybe filtering of trying to understand, you might not be able to, okay, so this is what's coming into me, is you might not be able to control other people's perspectives, other people's reactions, other people's stuff, but you can come from this space where you filter these knives that came at you maybe through this, where you can come to the point of feeling compassion, understanding, and love. Like, okay, well, maybe they came issuing this into me because of blah, 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 hoping the best instead of, well, they're this and they're that and they're this.
Like even though maybe they didn't say it in the best way, it comes from a good intention. Like they may come at you like, you should, da, 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 da. And obviously the finger pointing and the you should, maybe not appropriate, but it comes from they're like, this is so important for you to know for your safety. Maybe it just isn't coming through the wrong way and it feels like knives. No doubt they could work on their communication, but the intent, if you're allowing this rose quartz heart space to diffuse the inappropriateness of the communication, the essence of the message might actually be something from the heart space and love.
And whatever comes up this week, you know, either I feel like stuff that's going to come up is either really going to show you where you're building trust and loyalty, knowing that other old relationships are coming to the forefront, or they're going to show you so that you can create boundaries for this protection, so that you can transform and maybe move on onto a different path and evolve.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I like how you're using the stones, because the amethyst is going to allow all this information to come through. And then so between the obsidian and the rose quartz, it's like this is representing your healthy boundaries, and this is representing your ability to be compassionate not only in the way you perceive but the way you speak. So like I really like how those are working together. And then the last thing that I keep putting over in your awareness is, you know, we keep referring to this card, and I keep putting the selenite on it to cleanse and purify that feeling of defeat. And that's what selenite is for. It's for purification, for cleansing, for clearing away. I'm like, that is needing to be cleared and cleansed.
And allowing to understand that other people can transform. So once you've forgiven, maybe this forgiveness allows a situation between two people to come. I just keep wanting to go to these cards. Like, what are you passionate about? Are you passionate about your dreams? Maybe a heartbreak is, like we were talking about, like I, had to transform my business of having a physical location to now an online platform. I have been suffering from this card for the past year, this November.
In regards to your business.
In regards to my business, my dream, something that came to me 5 years ago that is a part of something that is very passionate for me. But I have suffered this and I've been like, hey, I want to do this. No, I'm going to hide. Ooh, I'm going to do this. Ooh, no, I'm going to hide. So to be able to get there, I have to be able to have forgiveness for all the things that happened that caused for me to shut my doors down in my physical location. And now I'm still doing the things. It's just transformed into a new something different, right? And now we're creating this whole different thing that's going on, which is like a breakthrough, you know, and breaking me out of a stagnation of just being in depression and being sad and being like, but it didn't work out, but it didn't work out. Well, it didn't work out because I was so fixed on this is the way it had to be.
Instead of co-creating, you were like stuck in a self-creation where it's like self and like the co-creation.
So this again can come in relationship form. It can come in, and that's why I keep feeling like the Pisces is about relationship, but it's also about whatever you're dreaming, whatever you've been manifesting to move forward with. Sorry, you don't feel resolved?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we are done with that today. So I feel like this week the key points are relationships. Stuff kind of coming from the hidden, you know, coming from below that you didn't really see. A little bit, I can say that I feel like there's some deception that could come in that might challenge you on trust, but also there's going to be this where you really know who your circle of trust is. So allowing that if maybe some more crunchy things come into your life, to again, even if you have to discern people out of your life and set healthy boundaries, send it with love.
Yes, I like that.
Okay.
Another thing, I don't know if this is coming to me, is this whole idea of Pluto in mythology. Pluto is the ruler of the underworld, and that seems like super scary. But the way that I think about it, and that's the ruler of Scorpio, so well. In that energy, new moon energy, the way that I think about this underworld is like your inner world. So your emotional inner world that you're not sharing, that's hidden from others, right? Because the underworld is this hidden dark place. So you think about it as your own underworld or your own inner world in your ego self, in your subconscious. So your subconscious is sort of associated with this idea of Hades. In the story of Persephone is about going into, so going into your own personal inner world, underworld, and recovering those patterns of rejection and fear that have been lost inside yourself, so that Persephone can rise back up from the depths in her total, my whole body just. Addressing these patterns of rejection, which is our fear. So our fear. So for you gave the example of you're afraid to go forward with your business because your pattern of rejection was the business didn't work out the way you wanted it the first time.
Why do that? It's just not going to work out.
Right. So it's addressing that whole idea.
And I also see in that story of Hades and Persephone, Mercury is the only planet that can go between both worlds, into the underworld and up. And so, but Mercury rules communication. So the only way that you're going to create this change that Pluto can evolve for you is to communicate, to share information. Because if I have all these issues over here and she has no clue what's going on in my world, how is there going to be any kind of change or whatever? Resolution. It has to come through communication. Yep. And that, with the Mercury retrograde, it keeps coming to me over and over again right now, is if there is communication where you've been feeling drawn to communicate with somebody, drawn to tell somebody, drawn to share your feelings, this heart chakra about this Ace of Cups, I would encourage you that over these next 2 weeks to share your emotions, share stuff that you may be holding back, because you never know, it could help evolve something to transform. I don't know why that just came up.
The last thing I want to end with is, so the Scorpionic energy going into Mercury retrograde is all about this cleansing, purifying. It's all the reason we're going down into the underworld of the self. Mercury's going to the depths of Hades to go recover Persephone, is so that we can reprioritize our soul urge in life, our soul expression, our goals. And this whole thing came up. I was listening to an astrologer shoot, I don't remember his name, or else I'd give him a shout out. Um,
But this is not our information. We like to make sure that we share that.
Yeah, but he talked about this idea of being fake and how, to be real, with her, if we were to talk about this, whatever issues we might have, it's painful for me to bring this up, this pain in me that, has making me feel this defeat. It's painful for me to bring this up, but when I'm real, when I'm honest, I bring it up and it's this intensifying of this pain, but then there's this intense point and then it washes away and then I'm relieved of the pain. Whereas if I put a mask over it and hide from that pain, there is never a release in it. So the idea of going into the inner world, the underworld of the self, is to go there and to release those things. So the idea of being fake sort of is this idea of being connected to a ball and chain. Kind of like in the tarot, the devil card, where, in the depiction of the tarot devil card, the chains are big enough that we can take them off. But we were given personal will to be, take them off or keep them on.
And that's why you get the Lover's card.
Yeah, and if we're not willing to go into the self and look at those things, then we remain connected to the ball and chain, and there's no release of that pain.
Or unknowing. Like I look to the Pisces card too, is like, I feel like there's this communication that needs to happen between two, like I keep seeing the variable of two people having this conversation, and if there's this unknowingness, if we keep it in the underworld, if we keep the underworld in us and it's not been revealed, it's not come out, then you have this unknowing of what's
like an uncommunicated expectation. So if you don't tell me, April, I expect you to be at that level 20 when you're here and not at level 50, and I don't know, then I might go on at level 50 for 3 years until she explodes because she's like, I can't take level 50 anymore. But for her, it would be her responsibility to be strong enough to allow that out, to say, hey, April, I really need to talk to you about this. So you're having to go through that hard moment, but then that releases and we're relieved of the burden and the pressure.
Well, that could come in with so they keep drawing me back to like relationships, like with a romantic partner, either with your current partner that you're with, like maybe your husband, your boyfriend, whatever. If they don't know, like this could be a beautiful relationship, but if you don't communicate about what you're wanting from them, you could allow different things to fester and not change, okay? Or if you're stagnate, or if you're not in a relationship and there's something that you've been wanting and maybe you've been pining after it, if you don't, because like we got the card, like this is your treasure island. If there's trust there, trust I feel like is with this loyalty is like a foundation to be built on. So if you have these things within the relationship, there's a foundation to work on, because this could be the one. But you have to allow yourself to transform it. You have to allow it to, and fear, that's what it was. Okay, so within the relationship, if there's something that you've been wanting to communicate to your partner or somebody who you want to be in partnership with, Pluto also rules fear. There's the fear of rejection, there's the fear of abandonment, there's all these different fear factors, and then it draws me back to here, so I am on track, really. It comes back to, if we don't communicate, we don't have this intense, like maybe they do reject you, so maybe there's this person that you want to date, or you're afraid if you tell your spouse this about you that they're going to reject you. Well, then right? And that's the Pisces thing, is at least now I know. Like now I know. Now I can shift and change. Like I can bust through that barrier.
Yeah, I like that. Yep. Yeah, because the fear is what creates the barrier. So just encouraging you to be able to feel into your fears this week so that you can challenge that barrier that may be the wall between you and your ideal destiny.
All right, thank you.